chapter 2 from The Richest Man in Babylon. And this is actually a really short chapter, so it's probably not going to even take 20 minutes tonight. But I'm actually really excited about this book reading thing. So we can read a chapter together and then maybe discuss a little bit. If anybody wants to come on live, or you guys want to start doing book readings, or you have a special book you want to request, let me know, because I've had a couple of cool comments. So, all right, chapter 2, The Richest Man in Babylon. In old Babylon, there once lived a very certain rich man named Arcad. Far and wide, he was famed for his great wealth. Also, he was famed for his liberality. He was generous in his charities. But nevertheless, each year his wealth increased more rapidly as he spent it. Even though he was so generous with his family and he was liberal in his own expenses. And there were certain friends of younger days who came to him and said, "You, Arcad, are more fortunate than we. You have become the richest man in all of Babylon while we struggle for existence. You can wear the finest garments and you can enjoy the rarest foods, while we must be content if we can clothe our families in remnants that is presentable and feed them as best we can. Yet, once we were equal. We studied under the same master. We played in the same games. And neither the studies nor the games did you outshine us. And in the years since, you have been no more an honorable citizen than we. Nor have you worked harder or more faithfully. Insofar as we can judge, why then should a fickle fate single you out to enjoy all the good things in life and ignore us who are so equally deserving?" Thereupon Arcad remonstrated with them and said, "If you have not acquired more than a bare existence in the years since we were youth, it is because you have either failed to learn the laws that govern the building of wealth, or else you do not observe them. Fickle fate is a vicious goddess who brings no permanent good to anyone. On the contrary, she brings ruin to almost every man upon whom she showers unearned gold. She makes wanton splendors who soon dissipate all they receive and are left beset by overwhelming appetites and desires they have not the ability to gratify. Yet others whom she favors become misers and hoard their wealth, fearing to spend what they have, knowing they do not possess the ability to replace it. The further they are beset by fear of robbers and doom themselves to the lives of emptiness and secret misery by holding these fears. Others there probably are who can take unearned gold and add it and continue to be happy and contented citizens. But so few are they. I know of them, but in hearsay. Think of you, the men who have inherited sudden wealth, and see if these things are not so." His friends admitted that the men they knew who had inherited wealth, these words were true. And they besought him to explain to them how he'd become possessed of so much prosperity. And so he continued, "In my youth, I looked about me and saw all the good things that they were to bring happiness and contentment. And I realized that wealth increased the potency of all of these. Wealth is a power. With wealth, many things are possible. One may ornament the home with the richest of furnishings. One may sail the distant seas. One may feast on the delicacies of far lands. One may buy the ornaments of gold worker and the stone polisher. One may even build mighty temples of the gods. One may do all these things, and many others in which there is delight for the senses and gratification for the soul. And when I realized all of this, I decided to myself that I would claim my share of all the good things of life. I would not be one of those who stand afar off, enviously watching others enjoy. I would not be content to clothe myself in the cheapest remnants that looked disrespectable. I would not be satisfied with the lot of a poor man. On the contrary, I would make myself a guest at this banquet of good things. Being, as you know, the son of a humble merchant, one of a large family with no hope of inheritance, and not being endowed, as you have so frankly said, with superior powers or wisdom, I decided that if it was to achieve what I desired, time and study would be required. As for time, all men have it in abundance. You, each of you, have let slip by sufficient time to have made yourselves wealthy. Yet, you admit you have nothing to show except your good families, of which you can be justly proud. As for study, did not our wise teacher teach us that learning was of two kinds? The one kind being the things that we learned and we knew, and the other being the training that taught us how to find out what we did not know. Therefore, did I decide to find out how one might accumulate wealth, and when I had found out, to make this my task and do it well? For it is not wise that we should enjoy while we dwell in the brightness of the sunshine, for sorrows enough shall descend upon us when we depart for the darkness of the world of spirit. I found employment as a scribe in the hall of records, and long hours each day I labored upon the clay tablets. Week after week and month after month I labored, yet for my earnings I had naught to show. Food and clothing are penance to the gods, and other things of which I could remember not what, absorbed all my earnings. But my determination did not leave me. And one day, Amagesh, the moneylender, came to the house of the city master and ordered a copy of the 9th law. And he said to me, I must have this in 2 days. If the task is done by that time, 2 coppers will be given to thee. So I labored hard, but the law was long. And when Amagesh returned, the task was unfinished. He was angry, and I had been his slave. He would have beaten me. Oh, and had I been his slave, he would have beaten me. But knowing the city master would not permit him to injure me in any way, I was unafraid. So I said to him, Amagesh, you are a very rich man. Tell me how I may also become rich. And all night I will carve upon the clay, and when the sun rises, it shall be completed. He smiled at me and replied, you are a forward knave, but we will call it a bargain. All that night I carved, though my back pained and the smell of the wick made my head ache until my eyes could barely see. But when he returned at sunup, the tablets were complete. Now, I said, tell me what you promised. You have fulfilled your part of the bargain, my son, he said to me kindly, and I am ready to fulfill mine. I will tell you these things you wish to know, because I am becoming an old man, and an old tongue loves to wag. And when your youth becomes too aged for advice, he receives the wisdom of years. But too often does youth think that age knows only the wisdom of days that are gone, and therefore profits not. But remember this, the sun that shines today is the sun that shone when thy father was born, and still be shining when thy last grandchild shall pass into the darkness. The thoughts of youth, he continued, are bright lights that shine forth like the meteors that oft make brilliant the sky. But the wisdom of the age is like the fixed stars that shine so unchanged that the sailor may depend upon them to steer his course. Mark your well my words, for if you do not, you will fail to grasp the truth that I will tell you, and you will think that your night's work has been in vain. And then he looked at me shrewdly under his shaggy brow. In a low, forceful tone, he said, I found the road to wealth when I decided that a part of all I earned was mine to keep, and so will you. Then he continued to look at me with a glance that I could feel pierce me, but he said no more. Is that all? I said. That was sufficient to change the heart of a sheep herder into the heart of a moneylender, he replied. But all I earn is mine to keep, is it not? I demanded. Far from it, he replied. Do you not pay the garment maker? Do you not pay the sandal maker? Do you not pay for the things that you eat? Can you live in Babylon without spending? What have you to show for your earnings of the past month? What about the past year? You fool! You pay everyone but yourself. Dullard, you labor for others, as well as be a slave and work for what your master gives you to eat and to wear? If you did not keep for yourself 1/10 of all you earn, how much would you have in 10 years? My knowledge of the numbers did not forsake me, and I answered, as much as I earn in 1 year. You speak but half the truth, he reported. Every gold piece you save is a slave to work for you. Every copper it earns is its child that can also earn for you. If you would become wealthy, then what you save also must earn. Its children must also earn, that all may help to give you the abundance that you crave. You think I cheat you for your long night's work, he continued, but I am paying you 1,000 times over. If you have the intelligence to grasp the truth that I offer you now. A part of all you earn is yours to keep. It should not be less than 1/10, no matter how little that you earn. Be sure to save at least 1/10. It can be as much more as you can afford. Pay yourself first. Do not buy from the clothes maker and the sandal maker more than you can pay out of the rest, and still have enough for food and charity and penance to the gods. Wealth, like a tree, grows from a tiny seed. The first copper you save is the seed from which your tree of wealth shall grow. The sooner you plant that seed, the sooner your tree will grow. And the more faithfully you nourish and water that tree with consistent savings, the sooner you may bask in the contentment beneath its shade. So saying, he took his tablets and went away. I thought much about what he had said to me, and it seemed reasonable, so I decided I would try it. Each time I was paid, I took one from each 10 pieces of copper and hid it away. And strange as it may seem, I was no shorter of funds than before. I noticed very little difference as I managed to get along without it. But often I was tempted, as my hoard began to grow, to spend it for some of the good things the merchants displayed. They brought in camels and ships from the land of the Phoenicians, but I wisely refrained. A 12th month after Amagesh had gone, he again returned and said to me, Son, have you paid to yourself not less than 1/10 of all you have earned in the last year? I answered proudly, Yes, master, I have. That is good, he answered, beaming upon me. And what have you done with it? I have given it to Amazur, the brickmaker, who told me that he was traveling over to the far seas, and in Tyre he would buy for me the rare jewels of the Phoenicians. When he returns, we shall sell these at high prices and divide the earnings. Every fool must learn, he growled, but why trust the knowledge of a brickmaker about jewels? Would you go to the bread maker to inquire about the stars? No, by my tunic, you would go to the astrologer if you had power to think. Your savings are gone, youth. You have jerked your wealth tree up by the roots, but plant another and try again. And next time, if you would have advice about jewels, Go to the jewel merchant. And if you would know the truth about sheep, go to the herdsman. Advice is one thing that is freely given away, but watch that you take only what is worth having. He who takes advice about his savings from one who is inexperienced in such matters shall pay with his savings for providing the falsity of their opinions. Saying this, he went away. And it was as he said, for the Phoenicians are scoundrels, and sold to Amzur worthless bits of glass that looked like gems. But Amagesh had bid me, I again saved each 10th copper, for I now had formed the habit, and it was no longer difficult. Again, 12 months later, Amagesh came to the room of the scribes and addressed me. What progress have you made since I saw you last? I have paid myself faithfully, I said, and my savings I have entrusted to Agar, the shield maker, to buy bronze, and each 4th month he does pay me the rental. That is good. And what do you do with the rental? I do have a great feast with honey and fine wine and spiced cake. And also I have bought myself a scarlet tunic, and someday I shall buy me a young ass upon which to ride. To which Amagesh laughed. You do eat the children of your savings. Then how do you expect them to work for you? And how can they have children that will also work for you? First, get thee an army of golden slaves, and then many a rich banquet may you enjoy without regret. So saying, again he went away. Nor did I again see him for 2 years, when he once more returned, and his face was full of deep lines, and his eyes drooped, for he was becoming a very old man. Did he say to me, Arcad, hast thou achieved the wealth thou dream of? And I answered, not yet all that I desire, but some I have, and it earns more, and its earnings even more. And do you still take the advice of the brickmaster? About brick making, they give good advice, I retorted. Arcad, he continued, you have learned your lessons well. You first learned to live upon less than you could earn. Next, you learned to seek advice from those who were competent through their own experiences to give it. And lastly, you have learned to make your gold work for you. You have taught yourself how to acquire money, how to keep it, and how to use it. Therefore, you are competent for a responsible position. I am becoming an old man. My sons think only of spending and give no thought to earning. My interests are great, and I fear too much for me to look after. If you will go to Nippur and take care of my lands there, I shall make you my partner, and you shall share in my estate. So I went to Nippur and take charge of his holdings, which were large. And because I was full of ambition, and because I had mastered the 3 laws of successfully handling wealth, I was enabled to increase greatly the value of his properties. So I prospered much, and when the spirit of Amagesh departed for the sphere of darkness, I did share in his estate as he had arranged under law. So spake Arcad, and when he had finished his tale, one of his friends said, you were indeed fortunate that Amagesh made of you an heir. Fortunate only in that I had the desire to prosper before I even first met him. For years did I not prove my deftness of purpose by keeping 1/10 of all I earned? Would you call a fisherman lucky, who for years so studied the habits of the fish, so in depth that with each changing wind he could cast his nets about them? Opportunity is a haughty goddess who wastes no time with those who are unprepared. You had strong willpower to keep on after you lost your first year's savings. You are unusual in this way, said another. Willpower, retorted Arcad. What nonsense. Do you think willpower gives a man the strength to lift a burden the camel cannot carry, or to draw a load the oxen cannot budge? Willpower is but the unflinching purpose to carry a task you set for yourself to fulfillment. If I set for myself a task, be it ever so trifling, I shall see it through. How else shall I have the confidence in myself to do important things? Should I say to myself for 100 days as I walk across the bridge to the city, I will pick from the road a pebble and cast it into the stream? I would do it if on the 7th day I passed by without remembering. I would not say to myself, tomorrow I'll cast 2 pebbles, which will do as well. Instead, I would retrace my steps and cast the pebble. Nor on that 20th day would I say to myself, Arcad, this is useless. What does it avail you to cast a pebble every day? Throw in a handful and be done with it. No, I would not say nor do that. When I set a task for myself, I complete it. Therefore, I am careful not to start difficult and impractical tasks because I love leisure. And then another friend spoke up and said, if what you tell is true, and it does seem, as you have said, reasonable, then being so simple, if all men did it, then there would not be enough wealth to go around. Wealth grows wherever men exert energy, said Arcad. If a rich man builds him a new palace, is the gold he pays out gone? No, the brickmaker has part of it, and the laborer has part of it, and the artist has part of it, and everyone who labors upon the house has a part of it. Yet when the palace is completed, is it not worth all it cost? And the ground upon which it stands, is it not worth more because now the home is there? And the ground that adjoins it, is it not worth more now than was there before? Wealth grows in magical ways. No man can prophesize the limit of it. Have not the Phaeacians built great cities on barren coasts with the wealth that comes from the ships of commerce on the seas? What then do you advise us to do, that we may also become rich? Added still not another one of his friends. The years have passed, and we are no longer young men, and we have nothing that we have put away. I advise that you take the wisdom of Amagesh and say to yourselves, a part of all I earn is mine to keep. Say it in the morning when you first arise, say it at noon, and say it at night. Say it each hour of every day. Say it to yourself until the words stand out like the letters of fire across the sky. Impress yourself with the idea. Fill yourself with the thought. Then take whatever portions seem wise. Let it not be less than 1/10, and save it wisely. Arrange your other expenditures to do this if necessary, but lay by the portion first. Soon you will realize what a rich feeling it is to own a treasure upon what you alone have claim. As it grows, it will stimulate you. A new joy of life will thrill you. Greater efforts will come to you to earn more, for if you increase your earnings, will not the same percentage also be yours to keep? Then learn to make your treasures work for you. Make it your slave, make it your children, make it your children's children, and make it work for you. Ensure an income for thy future. Look thou at the aged, and forget not that in the days to come thou also will be numbered among them. Therefore, invest thy treasure with greatest caution, that it not be lost. Rates of return are deceitful sirens that can sing but to the lure of unweary upon the rocks of loss and remorse to those who are not studied. Provide also that thy family may not want should the gods call upon thee to their realms. For such protection it is always possible to make provision with small payments at regular intervals. Therefore, the prudent man delays not in expectation of a large sum becoming available for such a wise purpose. Counsel with wise men. Seek the advice of men whose daily work is handling money. Let them save you from an error, as I made, in entrusting my money to the judgment